Um, And so, without further ado, tonight, what we're going to do is we have the pleasure of listening to Lisa Scalise talk to us from the Western Connecticut Arts from the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut. That was a mouthful. And we're also going to be able to have the opportunity to talk to 11 artists about their particular pieces. We're going to show a video of everybody's artwork, which I'm looking forward to seeing. And that would be what's going to happen tonight. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Lisa Scalise. It's Scales or Scalise? I apologize.
It's Scales.
Scales. Thank you.
Yeah, it's okay. Everybody does the same thing, so you're in good company.
It's okay. My name gets screwed up all the time too, so I can appreciate that. She is the executive director of the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut. The organization is a resource, information guide, and support for creative leaders. The Cultural Alliance connects artists, creative entrepreneurs, art and cultural organizations, and provides support for them. It engages in public, businesses, and government leaders to advance the arts and integrate creativity into communities. Before joining the Cultural Alliance, Lisa was a civil rights leader for many years. She served in several capacities with local and state levels before retiring as the president of the NAACP Connecticut State Conference of Branches. Her civil rights work included advocacy and legislative issues, training and mobilizing local leaders, coordination and building collaboration for local and statewide efforts affecting African Americans and the disenfranchised. As an entrepreneur, Lisa worked in diversity consultation and developed best practices and presented workshops and implementation programs for business, schools, and political systems. She has done extensive work with under-resourced youth and their families through special projects, community development, and social service programming. Lisa currently serves as a member of the Private Sector Council for Americans for the Arts, a member of the Western Connecticut Economic Development District Advisory Group, and a strong partner with the Connecticut Office for the Arts through the Department of Economics and Community Development. Without further ado, Lisa.
Thank you, Debbie. You know, I love any opportunity. Thank you so much, Lisa, for inviting me to be here tonight and to spend a little time with a group of artists. This is one of the things that I love about my job. It's always, you know, to be in a space with creative people. It energizes me each and every time. So with that, I am going to, one of the things I was asked to do is to talk about why, you know, why I thought the arts was so awesome. There's many reasons why I think the arts are awesome, and to sort of encourage and to really celebrate this moment with being around so many creative leaders. So I picked out 4 or 5 very short reasons why I think the arts are awesome. And it just happens to be that we are in the process of collecting AEP 6 study surveys. For those of you that may not be aware of it, Americans for the Arts every 5 years or so conducts a study. We're one of 350 partners across the country. So we're in the process of proving why the arts has value. I was just at a place this past weekend, and a gentleman who we asked obviously to take this survey, he's like, again, we're still proving that the arts has value. And I says, it's not again, it's just still. We always need to be advocates for the work that we do, right? So that we can continue to get the support that we so richly deserve to have. So anyway, I just want to share a few things that I picked out that really, you know, does it for me. So one is arts improves individual well-being. 81% of the population say that the arts are a positive experience in a troubled world. 69% of the population believe the arts lit me up beyond everyday experiences. lifted me up, sorry. And 73% feel that the arts give them pure pleasure to experience and participate in. You know, I just love that. And then another one is, in every neighborhood, the arts and culture express our greatest hopes, which is why each of us feels inspired when we interact with the arts. 72% of Americans believe the arts unify our communities regardless of age, race, and ethnicity. And 73% agree that the arts helps me to understand other cultures better. And I always got to throw in a little bit of the economy. So nonprofits, the last time that we did this study, nonprofits generated $166.3 billion of economic activity across the country. 102 billion of that in event-related expenditures, 63.8 billion in spending by arts and cultural organizations, 27.5 billion in generated revenue for governments on the local, state, and federal level, and 4.6 million jobs were created. Come on, we're awesome. And so, you know, sometimes we need to also really understand the scope and the breadth and the depth of the work that we do. Because I'm, as long as I've been in this position, 15 years now, in my third iteration in life, I still find myself being a giant cheerleader for creative entrepreneurs, which is what we consider all of you. And to remind you that you are awesome. This is the impact of your work. Keep shining, keep showing your brilliance, because the world needs you. So as far as the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut, yes, we are a regional service organization. I am the executive director. This is my third career in life. Always have been a creative thinker. In another lifetime, I probably would have been a dancer or a fashion designer. I don't know, pick your choice. But I decided to, because of a long legacy of service providers in my family, I went the route of social service first, and then parlayed that into community development, parlayed that into civil rights activism, and I hung a shingle out for 15 years on my own, and decided to do some diversity training for school systems and small to mid-sized companies. But I never lost sight of the arts ever in my career as I got my start, and found my way to my home, and that is with the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut. And with that, I've been able to bring all of the experience that I had before me into this position. And so we're the ones that are connecting with businesses in our area. We're the ones that are connecting with local and state legislative leaders, shouting all kinds of accolades about the arts, reminding them that it's important to prioritize the arts when it comes to planning for revitalization plans and funding for their local communities, for state budgets. We're the ones that connect with the public to remind them that there are some pretty awesome things to do in their own backyard, so that our arts and cultural organizations can increase their audiences, and so that they can make some connections. So we are an advocate for sure. We're all about building awareness for the arts, and opening doors so that the arts are integrated in our communities. In addition to that, because of the changes over the last 3 years in particular, particularly with a lot of the social unrest, and coupled with the fact of my background, I developed a program called Walk in Their Shoes. It is an anti-racism program. So we are providing leadership to our arts and cultural organizations in our area, and really anywhere. It's an online program. We're hoping to build opportunity for access for everyone to be, particularly in the arts and cultural fields, but we have been really excited to have community members and business leaders join the program as well. So that's a program that we offer. but there's many others. So I'm not going to bore you with all those details, but be sure to provide a link to our website if you want to learn more about some of the things that we offer and that we do. But as I close, I do want to just take the opportunity to emphasize and to say to everyone here that as a creative entrepreneur, really at the crux of what we do and at the heart and passion of my work, it is to encourage you to build connections, build your resources so that you can grow. It is lovely and it's wonderful to have a forum like this to uplift you and to share your work, especially with like-minded people that have a deep appreciation. But it's equally as important to branch out and to find ways to do that, whether it is connecting with an organization like ours. And by the way, we do have members that definitely cross geographic boundaries. So keep that in mind. But I am sure, and actually I know that there are other like-minded organizations probably close by you. So keep reaching.
Thank you, Lisa. I am a member of the Cultural Western.
Yes, you are, Debbie.
You know what, Debbie?
We're happy.
All the coordinators of the Rockland Arts Festival are members of the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut. We love it so much, and it offers an endless amount of opportunities for artists, not just in Connecticut, but like Lisa said, over the state line. I live in New York, and I have been a member for several years now, and it's been a wonderful benefit to me as an artist.
Yes, and I also appreciate, Lisa, your letting us know how much we contribute to the world's and the United States economy. You know, I think we get caught sometime in our little, this is what I'm making, this is what I'm applying, this is what I'm selling, and we don't really take in how big and how wonderful we are as a group. And so I truly appreciate your reminding us of who we are and the impact we have. So thank you very much. So now I'm going to ask 5 of our 11 artists to talk about their work. And then we're gonna look into the chat, and Lisa will do that to see if you have any questions. We'll take a little bit of a break, and then we have 6 more to go. And then we will get to watch our video of all our arts. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Ashley Gerst to unmute herself. Hi, Ashley.
Hello.
I loved your piece. Like, to me, I love textiles. So seeing what you did was magnificent. But you do many things: an animator, an illustrator, a filmmaker, and a professor. And so what I wanted to know from you is how your students impact the art that you create.
That was a great question. Every year it's so different. In fact, every class, every semester is drastically different with my students. And it's so interesting to see their cultural interests change as well, based on what's going on in the world, and then also what their interests are just from growing up in the time period that they grew up in. So I've been teaching now for on the college level now for 11 years. This is year 11. And when I first started, my students had like such a different interest in you know, what they like to watch, what they liked to learn about. Now it's so much more interesting because it's a lot more political. There's a lot more instead of, oh, I want to animate something that's just fun because I like it. It is now much more impactful. And it just kind of evolved in that way. And it wasn't, you know, in my classes, you can animate whatever you want as long as you fulfill the technical parameters I want you to. The subject is your choice. And I see just the variety of things that they come up with, and it's so different. And so one of the things that has really impacted me is I want to follow that and make things that showcase certain aspects, like maybe nostalgic parts of my life, which is a lot of what my work is about. And then also mixing many different materials. How do I add 2D work? How do I add 3D work? Because one of the things that my students do is they get a huge background. By the time they get to me, they're already juniors or possibly even seniors, and they've taken painting, they've taken printmaking, they've taken drawing, and sculpture, ceramics, etc. And so how to marry all of these different things and what their favorite things are into their work is such a big part of what we do together as a class. And so that's something that in some cases I like to lead by example. And sometimes I see work that they create, and I'm like, oh man, that's a good idea. I'm going to have to apply that in my way to my work. And so it's, you know, we're working together and inspiring each other together. Absolutely.
It's nice to know that you are a well-rounded teacher that you can take from your students and as well as give back to them. So that's always nice to see in an artist. Thank you. Diana, if you would unmute yourself, that would be great.
Hi.
Hi, it's good to see you. I too loved your work and impressed that it's a piece of commissioned work. I think that's wonderful. What I did was I did some homework, and so I was on your Instagram page, and what you said about the piece that was behind you, I really wanted you to talk more about. You said, I scream a lot whenever I look back at you, taking time to look at the canvas. I like you. I like you, and I made this. So tell us some more. I loved the idea that you screamed it. I love the idea that it sounds like you have pride in what you did. And so I wanted to hear more about that.
So this piece is what she said is a commission, and I screamed at it because whenever my person that I commissioned it for, he would say he screams at it and brags about it to one of his roommates, and whenever he would brag about it, he would literally like say, "This is my first commission, haha, you don't have one." It's so I put a lot of pride into it because of this.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm glad you had a sense of humor and were able to show that to other people. I think it's a wonderful. It sounds like it was a wonderful experience making this piece and then being able to give it to the person who commissioned it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. It was good to speak to you.
Okay.
Next, Elizabeth Runquist. You are. I'm not seeing you.
Debbie, I don't see her either. You know what, Debbie, why don't you go on to the next speaker and I'll check the attendance list. And if she's there, we can put her at the end.
Sounds perfect.
Okay, great.
Francisco. I thought I saw you. Okay.
I'll check for Fran too.
Sometimes it just goes this way, you know. Helen, I know I saw you. If you would unmute yourself, that would be wonderful. Good evening, Helen. Thank you for attending. So I hope I'm going to say this correctly. I find your work to be fascinating. The idea that you gaiotaku, how do you say it?
I think so. I mean, I'm not Japanese myself, but to the best of my understanding, gaiotaku is the pronunciation.
Beautiful. Can you tell me what drew you to this, and maybe for other people what it is? And then I really want to know where you found the stingray.
Okay. So what drew me to it? I don't know. I've always been drawn to the style. Honestly, I couldn't tell you the first time that I saw a gaiotaku piece. I don't remember specifically when that was, but what I like about it is that it's simple, meaning it's black and white and it's two-dimensional, yet there is such a story to be told behind any kind of piece that you produce in this manner. The materials that you use in themselves are a craft and an art. And when you put that together with the cultural meaning of the piece, and then of course the story of the species that you're representing. When I see a Gaitaku piece, I see much more than just a fish on a paper.
And where did you, maybe you want to spend like a line or two explaining what it is?
Oh, yes, sure. Sorry, forgive me.
That's okay.
So I guess the best way to explain what it is to give you a very brief history of it. To the best of my understanding, Gaitaku evolved in Japan, and it came about because the fishermen were largely illiterate. So they would come in with their catch and not really be able to advertise what they had for sale after catching. So what they did was they took sumi ink, which is an ink, it behaves much like watercolor. It's made with charcoal and resin from pine or from other trees. And you rub the ink, or well, use a brush because it's very liquid, over the surface of the fish. And then you take a washi paper, which is generally made with, it's like a rice paper, very thin, translucent, and you lay that over the top and you pull up the relief of the fish. So the fishermen would do this as a way to advertise what they had. And so that's the general history of it. And the materials, sumi ink and washi paper, are used for many other types of art, but they find their place in Gaitaku.
And the stingray came from?
Oh, that was an unfortunate byproduct of the aquarium trade. So
okay.
One of the things that this is sort of subjective, one of the things that I like to make a bit of a point about is I don't find fish and kill them for the purpose of doing this, which some people do, and that's totally fine. But you know, for me, I try to, for example, once I was kayaking in Nyack, believe it or not, and there was an absolutely gigantic dead eel just floating down the river. And it wasn't gross or rotten or anything. It was completely intact. It had just recently passed. So I printed that many times. But so the fish that I find, I find them in whatever state they're in, either from you know, a byproduct of aquarium trade, or I find them as they are. And the piece that I chose to present or to showcase for this event is a lionfish, which is, as most people know, highly invasive in the Caribbean, though native to the Pacific. So it's a bit of a controversial species in itself.
Why, thank you.
Thank you.
I found it really interesting.
Thanks.
Joe, is Joe Lamontino here? Okay. You're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted, Lisa.
So I was talking to myself. Okay, not the first time. Definitely not the first time. Elizabeth is here. We'll put her at the end. I'll check if Joe's here. If he is, we'll put him at the end as well.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's great. If you wanna, if there are any chat questions, do you see anything? Anybody have any questions about the artists so far?
There's no questions yet.
Okay.
I just want to tell everybody who can see and hear us, because in the chat there's questions about this event, that this is a webinar. So it's not the traditional Zoom meeting. This is a webinar, is more of a one-way street. So since I'm the host, I'm the host, I can see who's here, but nobody else can. We've had to do this because of a hacking problem, and I apologize for that. This is the safest way to conduct the event without jeopardizing it. So yes, everybody, we can see you. There are 58 people here, which is fantastic. So glad that you're here. And so like I said, I will put, if Joe's here, we'll put him at the end along with Elizabeth, okay?
Sounds wonderful. All right, Kelly, if you can unmute yourself.
Hi everyone.
Hi, and I can say as one Bronx girl to the next, I really like your jewelry.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I would love for you to tell us about the Queen Nefertiti, that is your background. I love the detail, and I think it's very wonderful.
Thank you, Debbie. So I have a small business called Bronx Girl Pretty Art. I basically create digital art but primarily I did begin with canvas art, and I just slowly made my way into the polymer clay world and have basically been playing with it for an entire year. And so this actually, the Queen Nefertiti earrings were created as part of a giveaway, my very first giveaway. And I wanted it to be something impactful, something that was an homage to my childhood and my fascination with the ancient Egyptians. And so this was something that I thought would be a great first giveaway for the people that have been following me and supporting me for a long time. So I had a lot of fun making this, especially because it's clay. It's basically, you know, like adult Play-Doh. So I really enjoy putting together custom colors, seeing how the materials work together. And so, yeah, yeah, I'm just so happy how they came out, and I'm really happy to be here with all of you and get to show them. So thank you so much.
It is. They are wonderful. Is it a stone in the center, or
So
is that more clay?
it's actually a bead. It has a
Okay.
flat back, yeah. So
Okay.
that's the only part that isn't made of clay, but everything else is made with clay. And I finished off the skin with resin.
It's wonderful, and I thank you for showing it. And again, Bronx to Bronx, it works all the
Yes.
time.
Thank you.
All right, Neil Levy, I saw you.
Hi there.
Hi.
How's it
I
going?
have to say that I love your watercolor. The
Thank you.
sense of tranquility and peace is something that I personally aspire to. So I loved getting into it. But in your video, you said that you were first found watercolor intimidating, and I wanted to know what about it you found so daunting?
Very much so. I actually teach watercolor to adults these days, and it's a medium that can get away from you really easily. I mean, you can just have mud in 2 minutes time, and it's something that I just struggled with. And also, I saw my father do it so with such ease, and I was like, like how did he do that? But I actually took a class in Rockland Arts Center years ago. Beverly Bozell, I think her name is. She's a great watercolorist locally there in Nyack, and she kind of got me over my fear hump, and now I sort of, I do things in steps and stages, and I was also using lousy materials according to her. So she said, up your game. So since then, I've, gotten much more confident. It's a typical thing. It's like experience, you get more comfortable with it.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was definitely, I steered away from it for many years.
So how did you go section by section for that piece you're showing here?
Generally, I work from background to foreground, and even, often with oil painting, that's also a good idea. So you're not painting around things so much. But yeah, this is a piece I sold a bunch of years ago. And it's the piece that's on the very top of the hill where I live here in Duxbury. And I call it Old Friend. And because, I'd come home from school, I'd walk up that hill and there it would be. And because I live in the house I grew up in, so I'm in the same area. But so yeah, I try to get a lot of drama going, even in my other works, whether it's in the medium or whether it's in the subject matter. I went for a dramatic sky, and I use a photograph very sparingly. I kind of use it as a springboard, and then I just stop looking at the photo and keep painting. So that's kind of how I roll on that one.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. So,
Thank you for being part of the festival.
absolutely. My pleasure.
Robin Klein, I see you. Thank you for being part of the festival. You are one and only potter, and your pieces are magnificent. I love the color. In your website, you talk about being inspired by patterns of nature. So what are the patterns in the pieces that you have at the Arts Festival?
Actually, the piece that's at the Arts Festival that will be in the video you're showing is a little bit different. Let me just step back for a minute. I mean, when I carve, generally my carving, and I do them very impromptu. They're not graphic measured designs. When I carve, it's really kind of this improvisation I do with the pot. And those tend to be inspired by those beautiful patterns that the tide makes in the sand or the bark of a tree. Those kind of sing to me. The pieces that are in the show are more inspired by the combination of my responding to the organic nature of the clay itself and trying to really maintain a feeling of the process in the finished product. And the fact that I find started with bud vases, but it's regular vases as well. I find them to be anthropomorphic. And so I play with that and try to have them express human attitudes and emotions. And the piece that's in the show is the first in a series I started a few months ago that I'm still deeply involved in, called Made for Each Other, where I'm doing pairs of pots that are altered so that they fit together, but they maintain their separateness. And I kind of see that as a real metaphor for intimate relationships.
That's wonderful. That's inspirational, and you get that feeling from looking at your pieces that
Thank
they
you.
are they could exist on themselves, but they connect really well. And I like the shade that the color that they're in. So
Yeah.
thank you. All right. Rujusta, am I saying that right?
Rujuta.
Rujuta, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was close. So for me personally, I appreciate the way that you captured the hustle and bustle of life in the city and how you see it as a community. I don't always see it that way when I'm trying to get through the crowds. So I appreciate that you took me on that journey with the details of the people that are in your pieces. But I was also wanted to really know more about a very simple but not so simple statement that you made in your website. You wrote, find an inspiration and paint it. So could you say more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, I paint what I see. So I paint flowers, I paint landscapes, I paint people. So whatever I see, it inspires me. Colors inspire me. So whenever I'm looking at a person, I'm actually honestly looking at how the light is reflecting off the nose, off the hair. So basically, anything and everything can inspire you. You know, you are looking at the most simplest of the glass with water, and just how the light sparkles on the water can inspire you. So this painting, which is behind me, has been inspired by, like I lived in New York before moving here to Scarsdale in New York City, and there was to be people, and I used to love people watching, and there's been different types, shapes, diversity of people on the streets of New York. And that kind of inspired me. And I used to photograph as well. So a couple of different photographs of mine. So this is not actually a single crowd. These are different people caught in different times of, different events. And I had joined them together to form this crowd of people. So you can find inspiration anywhere, any place you sit, and anything can inspire you. And that's what I meant.
I appreciate that. And I think it's something we should remember, that, my piece in my backyard can do it as well as a crowd of people can do it. And anything, and a tree,
Yeah.
A good old friend that's a tree can do it too. So I appreciated the fact that you took that simple statement, or not so simple statement, and put it on your website. So I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the good luck charm, as Lisa referred to you, Scott.
Hi.
Hi. So I love the fact that you take natural places and combine them with dancers, and that it sounds like, from the video that I watched, that the end result is a combination of what the dancer feels as well as what you feel. But my question to you is, which comes first? Do you find a setting and then look for a dancer, or do you find a dancer and then look for a setting?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say that I do find the landscape more often than not. I mean, both happens, but I'm constantly on the lookout. Wherever I go, and I do a lot of research online, and that navigates sometimes where I seek out the landscape on purpose. But usually wherever I'm at, I'm abandoning my friends to go search for a spot. And I'm lucky to be collaborating with such a wide, diverse group of dancers, and they have friends of friends who are also dancers, who they dance with on stage and are in different areas. So it sort of winds up being the landscape most often, but that's not to say that I don't sometimes contact some dancers and say, great, I'm happy to work with you. Do you know any place near where you live that's particularly exciting, just on 100% natural landscape level? So it is a little bit of give and take. Yeah.
That's great. Are you searching out a particular area now?
Do you know, I have two places in mind. I have to go back to a place that is once again going to challenge my car's mileage. I'm on my second transmission, 2018 Honda. So, it's really challenging, but I'm going to be shooting in a vineyard, which I find really exciting. And then there's another space, it's kind of hard to define. But to your first question, part of this is because, and I don't know if this is a big reveal or not. I actually said this last night to friends for the first time, but I'm going to start shooting, photographing couples in the air. So they're going to be turning two bodies in the air. And then I have one entire dance group. It's 9 different dancers. We're going to be making a huge work. So now that I have a couple assistants, we're going to document that more. If you go to my Instagram, I have a lot of behind the scenes I don't have a lot, I have some behind the scenes. So with this bigger affair, I'm going to be looking to document more behind the scenes work as well.
That sounds very exciting. I wish you all the best, and your car all the best.
Yeah, we both thank you.
So
well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being part of the festival. Are Elizabeth or Joe here, Elise?
Elizabeth is here. So I am going to unmute her so that she can speak. I guess she'll be our last speaker, because if Joe is here, I don't see him by name. If he's here by phone, it only gives me the phone number, and I don't know who that belongs to.
Okay.
So
I came in late. Is there a way I could speak to?
Who's that?
Francisco.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was down at a film festival and it went very long.
That's okay. We're glad you're here.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's have Fran talk first.
Oh, great. I prepared a 2-minute something to read, but I think, and behind me is the piece that it refers to called Transition, but it doesn't show the full piece, which I have right next to me, and I would like to just get that, and I could refer to it as I talk about it. No, I'm not able to show that. What am I doing? Okay. Anyway.
I actually had a question for you that
Yes.
absolutely ties into your piece. So you've now said it's all about transition, which I think is pretty amazing. And I think there are lots of intricate pieces about it. So I would really like you to talk about the choice of your color and the choice of shape and how that embraces transition.
Yes. Well, there are 2 concurrent transitions that I tried to depict in the piece. One is a transition from male to female, or to transgender female. And that I showed in the piece. I don't know if I could point. You see behind me, there is a curved door. On one side of the door in the front is a male figure, and in the back is a female figure. I used the color of pink to influence the male figure, who was always conflicted, living as a male. And the brown is really for the door. But I thought the interesting thing about it was trying to get this shape, if you could see that better there.
Yep.
And then what happens is that the female figure that's in the rear gets accentuated, which you can't really see in this part of the piece. You just see her bra and panties, I guess. And then there's the face that's the top of the piece. The shapes on this side, on my this shoulder over here, those are geometric shapes. I was experimenting with, it's almost a spoof on cubism using cubes. And the cubes, which by the way, I went to the cubism show down at the Met a couple of weeks ago, Picasso and Brock. It was like unbelievable. So what I tried to show in that transition is a transition from left-brained, analytical, structured thinking, to right-brain, more creative and artistic and sensitive. And so what happens is that the pieces, the structured pieces, the boxy pieces, as they rise up above them, they start changing shape and they become more amorphous and more fluid. And what you don't see here is that they rise up, and at the top of the piece is an upside down city landscape to signify my world going upside down as I went from left brain to right brain, as I went from male to female. And then as it progresses toward the what you see is the right side of the piece, you only see flames at that point, but above that are the rest of the buildings and some shapes which connote spirituality, like a fish shape, and with those colors, and then coming down into the flames representing more passionate. So I found in my own life that when I went from left brain to right brain, when I went from male to female, I went from this analytical person, very structured thinking most of the time, or some of the time, to someone who had a lot more room in their life, and into someone much more artistic. So that happened about 11 years ago, that transition. I've become much more artistic. I was always artistic, but much more in all fields. And at the bottom, what you don't see is the colors that Debbie, you were asking about. They're a bunch of, it looks like an ooze, greens and purples, and they're all mixed together. And I found that that's what was happening in my life. I was a mixture of lots of different things, and transitioning to female helped me at least more structure that part of my life, the outside of my life, so I could better express the inside of my life.
It's a very powerful piece, and
thank you.
You could I could absolutely see the flow of how it was going from green ooze to I want to say liberated blues and blacks, and so thank you for putting this piece in.
Thank you. I'd like to just mention this. When I did this piece, I did it outside. Most of it I did outside in my backyard, and it was a sunny day. It was a beautiful day, and as it was happening in front of me, like I had the basic idea, but when I finally got the door in the middle and everything flowed around it, I felt so liberated. And I use this piece when I give motivational talks to people about gender and not only gender, but also this left brain, right brain idea. And I use the piece holding it or on an easel, on a stand, and I give that talk to many people, and it helps me greatly to explain about transition. And since this piece, I've done many abstract pieces where I conveyed abstract ideas that I sometimes would have a problem expressing, even though I'm a writer. The pieces help me do that, and And thank you for this opportunity very much.
You're very welcome, and thank you for sharing it with us. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. And so, Elizabeth, I see you. Elizabeth needs to be unmuted. There you go. Nice to have you here.
Thank you. I've been here all along, but you couldn't see me.
Sorry about that. Well, now you get to
Yes.
be the person who culminates everything that we've done so far. Not too much pressure. So you are an abstract painter and a psychotherapist, and I really wanted to know how your psychotherapy practice influences your own art.
I thought you'd ask that. Yes. Well, let me say, I've lived a long, varied, and tumultuous life with many ups and downs and all kinds of things. I have always been interested in people. And I've always drawn and written poetry from infancy. Well, not infancy, but when kids start, before we're told to just stay in the lines. I've always wanted to break the lines, not stay in the lines. So my myself as a psychotherapist certainly influences my work as a painter. And I couldn't tell you exactly, they're not separate, it's all together, as I'm made up of many parts. It's all part of who I am. I'm certainly very aware of the dark place we live in our culture, and I've always been driven to express my feelings through paint. I love to work with paint, with colors. And since I guess October of this year, I've been working with water-soluble oils. I switched from acrylics and regular oils to water-soluble, and they're a whole new world. They're marvelous. And so I don't know, I'm an experimenter, and I would say, to answer your question succinctly, a therapist, art therapist, and painter, it's all part of who I am. And so my work is really expressed and expresses who I am.
I can appreciate that you sort of said it for us all. Everybody has one way or another, their artwork is truly who they are, and to be able to take the opportunity to share it here is wonderful, and we truly appreciate it. For all the 120 some odd people who entered the Rockland Arts Festival.
Absolutely. And I appreciate very much being on the panel. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Okay, Debbie, before you go on, just to all the speakers, if you could take a moment and look in the Q&A, there's one question that's for everyone who's spoken. So if you could write your response in the Q&A, that'd be great. And Ashley, there's one question specifically for you. And for everyone in the audience, if you could write if you are an artist and you have a social media account or a website or both, if you could type that in the Q&A so other people can see it and we can do a little networking and following of each other and be supportive as an arts community, that would be great. Debbie, thank you for letting me jump in.
I'm not seeing the question. I only see that it's closed. I see no open questions.
Oh, you don't see any open questions in the Q&A?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll just read it. And then maybe the speakers could type their answers in. That'd be great. The question that's posed to all the speakers is, how is your art a production of inspiration or intention? Is it sometimes just free fall? So that's the question posed to all the speakers.
That's a good question.
That's an excellent question.
Yes.
Debbie, I think it's time that we look at the work that's been submitted by 120 artists. It's incredible work. And this is just a sampling. It's a video. It's only 3 minutes. And I recommend that everybody get up close and personal with this work. Please go to the website and check it out. And also inquire with the artist if you have questions about their work, if you're interested in purchasing something, or if you have maybe an event that you want them to be part of, please reach out to them directly. Their work is unique, expressive. Every single one of them has a talent that's clearly their own. And I think that everyone will enjoy seeing the work on the website as much as I do. I know as much as Debbie does. And there'll be 50 of these talented artists this Sunday at the Palisade Center. And I hope you'll join us there as well. So I'm going to try my best to be technical and play this video. So fingers crossed that I can do this. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
The work is wonderful. And just so everyone knows, if you want to hear more of the artists speak, please go to the Arts Festival YouTube page. And you can see more than 30 artists speaking, and there are more videos coming up, so subscribe. And thank you so much. So Debbie, your closing words.
Closing words. Thank you, everybody. It's been an honor to host tonight. It's wonderful to be part of this amazing group of artists. And I look forward to seeing you guys further along the week, because this is not the only thing I'm hosting. So have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you. And we'll see you later on. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.